بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنام أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent, peace and blessings of all of us, our salutations be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, of course, and his family. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It means simply peace be on you all, nothing more than that, nothing sinister. I want to start by thanking the organizers for putting this program together, and it's my first time ever to this masjid, to this mosque, and I'm only privileged to be here. It's an amazing building. I'm still admiring the architecture, the great dome dominating the whole landscape. It's beautiful, and that's how every day I believe Muslims in this country show their presence here as not something that is temporary. It's here and they're here to stay. Whether you like it or not, I'm here to stay. And inshallah together, I hope, we'll create a society, a country that is conducive to all of our well-being, cohesive everywhere possible, leading the world in building peace and stability, economically prosperous, and certainly at home together. That's the dream I have of Britain of tomorrow. But I'm not here to tell you my vision for Britain for tomorrow. I'm here to tell you some aspects of the life of the Prophet, his legacy. Very simple and very straightforward, in my view. Some 1400 years ago, a man was born in the middle of darkness. In the depth of darkness, the society, in fact, the society was in the depth of darkness. So dark it was that they were not even aware of their state of ignorance. He was born, and his mission was to change and transform that society. Within 23 years, or just over 60 years, an entire lifetime, he was able to bring that people from the depth of darkness and gave the world the best gift the world had ever had with. And this gift was a gift of knowledge, yearning to change, beginning off and seeding the soul, sowing the seeds of science and technology, medicine, astronomy, and all the other disciplines that we have at our time and time to come. Who is this man? How was he able to do this? According to historians, he's the most influential man to have ever walked on the face of this earth. And perhaps historians would differ, but Muslims certainly believe he would remain the most influential man to have ever to walk the earth and to ever in the future to walk the earth. What are his legacies is what I've been asked to talk about. And I've noted 10 only out of a person's life, as long as it was. A person who was able to transform not only his society, but the world around. 10, just a mere scratch on the surface. So I hope you forgive me for not doing deeper and more analytical justice to this topic. And I hope I'll arouse within you interest to go and learn, read a bit more. Perhaps find out objectively what is it that makes this man so amazing and interesting. First and foremost, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was from his own people. He was local, and he was not a foreigner. And I say this point to Muslims as well as non-Muslims in this very society. Our presence in Britain is not from 10 years ago. It's been hundreds of years of mutual collaboration and relationship. If you look at your neighbors, Muslim friends, as foreigners, as aliens, I'm afraid both you and your Muslim friend who would not correct you would be doing a great injustice to the legacy of the Prophet. He was a local man. His mission was to transform local people so that the world would change. And he did that. Prophet's legacy of his localness is so embedded in the history, it's unbelievable. He was born in a noble family, the most noble of the families in his society. custodians of the holy site, the sacred site in Mecca, well before Muhammad came, attributed to Abraham and Ishmael together building it by the order of God thousands of years before. He came to that family who were custodians of a particular house that was visited by thousands of people from all across Arabia. But the caretakers of it. And he was born in that family not for no reason. Though in Islam, family and nobility isn't a reason for discrimination and inequality. But at that time in society, nobility was a major issue. Once and for all, God answered all their questions. If you read the critiques of Prophet, nobody has ever questioned his family background. The family was well known within the society. Every single member of his family, their details were well meticulously recorded by society at his time. Their genealogy was known. Their contribution was known. He was a local man and accepted as local. And this is the legacy I would like us all to take on board and develop and make it more meaningful and deeper. Muslims are as British as the rest of the British society. Muslims are as local as you can get. My father came to this country in 1956 with the hope of going back to Bangladesh after 10 years. It's 2012 and he's still here. He hasn't gone very far. And I always tell him, Dad, I've got bad news for you. You're not going to go, I'm not going to go, and my children are not going to go. This is our home. Let us make the life of the Prophet a local legacy for people of Britain. So British people can understand and embrace this man, the great contribution he made to the world and its civilization. Let us do that objectively. Number two, he was called by his own people trustworthy and truthful. Thus, certification of his character. A man who was sound in his judgment, in his wisdom, in his moral conduct. He was not unfair. He was not a person who was known to be bad, immoral, indecent. Never has anyone in his society, in his entire life, heard him swear a single word of foul or vile language. Never. How is it possible? A man who lives amongst his people from the day he's born till he dies. Never has anyone heard him use a swear word. Profound contribution, in my view, to the thinking and the future of the leadership of Prophet Muhammad that is to come when he becomes a prophet. That's why people called him the trustworthy, the truthful. Never did he lie. Never did he betray. Never did he let people down. Never did he attend or fail to attend those who are poor and the needy. Never. Always there if you need him. He would go out of his way looking for people if they needed his help and support. Trustworthy and truthful. This is not a critique of Muslims, but generally, unfortunately, when Muslims are walking the streets, they're not called trustworthy and truthful. They're called terrorists, unfortunately. For reasons that are nothing to do with Islam and Muslims, in my view. It's not in my name those terrorists and lunatics do what they do. I don't support it. No Muslims do, as far as I know. They do them for their own good, in fact, for their own destruction, and an end to this world, destruction of peace and stability. But unfortunately, thanks to our wonderful media, I wrote to Evening Standard the other day. I said, the life of the Prophet is very important for Muslims, and I believe for the world at large. His birthday is coming up in 10 days' time. I would like you to commission a piece on the life of the Prophet and his legacy. I was wonderfully surprised to receive a reply from the editor. And truthfulness is a two-way process. We build it together. We build relationship together. Not by labeling one as terrorist, we think we can wipe away their feelings. No, we can't. The Prophet was a man of his words. And we are, in my view, man and woman of our words. We can too become trustworthy and truthful. Number three, he became the arbitrator of his people in their affair. He would resolve communal conflict. He would get involved. was a time when the house of God, the Kaaba itself, the cube-shaped thing that you see in Mecca, was actually destroyed because of a natural disaster. All the locals gathered together to repair it, and they did. But in the corner of the house of God, there is a stone attributed to the heavens. Heavenly stone is called Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. Now, which tribe would have the honor of placing the stone back on its own position? That tribe from there on would become the most noble of tribes in the eyes of history and people. So everyone wanted to share of it. They were fighting and vying over it. On the brink of war, they were prepared to shed blood in the name of stone. Somebody said, why don't we stop fighting? We're all in it. Let's see who from outside these tribes, tomorrow morning, at the break of dawn, would walk through those gates. And if that person happens to be able, we will accept that person's arbitration. All waiting eagerly. The darkness is lifted. Emerges from the depth of darkness is a man called Muhammad. And they all shout in chorus of Muhammad al-Amin and al-Sadiq, the trustworthy and truthful person is coming. We shall certainly accept his view and his arbitration. He wasn't a prophet at that time. He was a young man. According to historians, no more than 22, 23. Very young. He comes, he listens to their problems. He says, simple. Takes his cloak that he was wearing, places it on the floor, lifts up the stone with his own hand, puts it in the middle, and says, can I have a representative from each of the tribes, please? They all come forward, and he tells them, now lift up the cloak and carry the stone from wherever it is to house of God. And they all do. And then he picks up the stone and puts it in its right place. Averting a war becomes the arbitrator. Soon after, Number 4, he sets up an organization called Alliance of Virtue, Hilf al-Fudul. The sole purpose of this was to avert war. Sole purpose of his organization was to help the widow, the orphans, and the downtrodden of his society. The orphans whose wealth were taken by the mighty and the strong were trampled all over. The main purpose of setting up that organization was to create an alliance of people who no longer stood idly or silently by watching such injustices being perpetrated against innocent and weak people. He was no longer willing to stand by, and he united a group of people and he signed the treaty. They called it Hilf al-Fudul, Alliance of Virtue. Just like you have done in this mosque. All the 7 mosques across this barrier or this city, Peterborough, have come together, an alliance of virtue, promoting the life of the Prophet. In fact, they should always stay together, 7 mosques. Not just today. It's a stepping stone towards coming together. In fact, the non-Muslim friends from churches, any other friends from any other places of worship, synagogue, temple, wherever you come from. This is an alliance of virtue. We're together because we want to celebrate, learn about one another's culture. We want to learn about a man who made such a difference. We want to celebrate him if he's so good. Why not? It is our prophet, your prophet, everyone's prophet. That's called alliance of virtue. The more of it, the better. Number 5, he showed concern and care for his society. He was looking for a solution for the social and spiritual ailments that had overtaken that society. He wanted to find a way that this society could be cured from their problems. He did not want to see the girls being buried alive simply for being a girl. He did not want to see the orphans being trampled. He did not want to see widows being left to rot by themselves. He did not want to see the might is right and the powerful can't do anything they want. He did not want to see this, but he did not have a solution for it. He spoke against it through Hilf al-Fudul, but he did not have a solution. He doesn't know what to do. So he resides in the mountains, preferring solitude over the hustle and bustle of the urban city life. He prefers silence, freshness of the mountain, the crisp air of the top and the peaks of mountains and the caves in his surrounding area. He meditates. Then he comes down to his people one day. And he tells them the gift of all the gifts, the biggest gift the society could have ever had. In silence, in solitude, he discovers the He doesn't. God reveals himself, not physically, metaphorically speaking, to Muhammad. In the form of revelation, the Prophet comes down from the top of the mountain and tells his people. What does he say to his people? Pray 5 times a day, fast in the month of Ramadan, pay zakat, you're due to give charity. No, he says none of those. He doesn't say fight. He doesn't say do this, do that. He says none of those. First word to have revealed was read, iqra, read. You are in the depth of darkness, O society. God wants you to come out of the depth of darkness. But you cannot come out of the depth of darkness simply by praying, simply by fasting. No. You need to learn, you need to read. Read and write becomes the motto of his mission. It gives the world the gift. The world that did not know how to read and write at that time well. Masses were not literate of the world. A few were. He wanted to eliminate illiteracy from his society once and for all. He wanted to change that society from superstition to conviction and knowledge based on certainty. He wanted that society to leave that mumbo-jumbo lifestyle to knowing for certainty with science and technology, confirming their faith in God and principles for their future. He wanted the world to change. So he begins his mission by asking the world to read. Iqra, read. Read, O Muhammad. Strange, Muhammad himself does not know how to read. Why would God tell a man who doesn't know how to read, read? Why would Muhammad concoct a story and come and tell his people, read, when he doesn't know himself how to read? That would be the best way to incriminate himself. I don't know how to read, people, but you should read. But he's not speaking. It's not his word. These are the words of God. And Muhammad swallows his own weakness. Read, oh my people, read. For reading will enable you to discover God. Reading will open up the doors of the unknown, knowledge that you don't have. Trust me, it did. Inspired by the Quran, we have science and technology today. If it wasn't for those philosophers, writers, if it wasn't for Ibn Sina and Ibn Khaldun and Al-Khwarizmi and all the other great scholars and scientists who came, you and I wouldn't have technology today. If it wasn't for the invention of Al-Jabra by Al-Jabr, if it wasn't for the work of those people, you and I won't have what we have today, computers. I'm doing my speech with my phone. The world has become very small, as they say. Somebody said to me the other day, Imam Sahib, why are you reading your messages when you're on the pulpit? So I said, I'm not reading my messages, that's my speech. He was baffled. He goes, could you speech on your phone? He was an elderly gentleman. I had to explain, things have moved on. I can do speeches from my phone. I showed him how I type. Amazing. If it wasn't for the great work of those people in those days when the world was too busy being barbarians in various parts of the world, Europe was in the depth of darkness just like the Arab world. We won. How did we win? We shrugged off. We got rid of darkness by embracing reading and writing. And whose gift was it? God's. And who said this to you and I? Muhammad, the greatest legacy. Number 7, he set out a blueprint for a social change, a spiritual change in his society and his surrounding. He said everyone is born with dignity and honor. Everyone is born with dignity and honor. Let no one say you don't have honor and dignity. The most important principle and prerequisite for developing self-confidence, for those of you who do counseling and psychology, you know, if somebody feels they're not worthy of anything, they will not have confidence. And if they have no confidence, they will not be able to function in the society productively. And Muhammad's message contained in the Quran, the Quranic message contained in the life of the Prophet. In his words, God says, and I have created every single person, all the children of Adam with dignity and honor. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. The word is children of Adam, not just Muslims. He creates a blueprint for a social change that is universal. One, not for two, but for everybody. Everyone is born with honor and dignity. Number 2, everyone is born free. Don't let anybody subjugate you. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not free. Don't let anyone trample over your freedom. Freedom is essential. Freedom is essential. Without freedom, you're nobody. Every mother gives birth to every child, free. Let no one tell you you're not free. Essential message of the Prophet in creating a different world, a changed society. Everyone is equal in the eyes of God. There are no hierarchies. You don't need to come to me, an imam, to go to God. It's direct relationship with him. Ask God and He will respond. Muhammad suddenly says, what? I can ask God directly without the intermediaries? Yes, you can. Your relationship with Him is direct. He eliminates inequality in the eyes of God instantly. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum, says God in the eyes of God. The best amongst you is the one who is most God conscious. What is God consciousness? Can I judge your God consciousness? Can you judge mine? No. The Prophet said God consciousness is in the heart. How will I know what is in your heart? No room for prejudice. I can't say you are more pious than me. You can't say I'm less pious than you are. I don't know. It's between you and God. Spirituality becomes a flat relationship with God at the top. We human beings are all equal in the eyes of God. He eliminates discrimination once and for all by saying Arabs and non-Arabs, black and white, rich and poor, are all equal brothers and sisters. He says, no one has superiority. A man has no superiority over a woman. A woman has no superiority over a man. Each and every one of you are equal at a time when the Arabian society would bury their daughters alive because they would feel disgraced if they had a female in their family born. Challenging such a status quo was not a small thing, but it did. He says, life, property, intellect, faith, and family of all people are sacred and should always be protected. Look at it very carefully. 1500 years ago, there is a man in the middle of Arabia, in the desert of Mecca. He says, life, intellect, property, faith, and family of every human being is sacred and must always be protected. That's what we have in our Human Rights Charter from United Nations that was recently approved. Great he becomes, the peacemaker prefers and actively promotes peace and not war. In fact, when he signed the peace treaty called Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, God revealed verses saying, Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. And today, O Muhammad and all the Muslims of the world, all those people who are listening to these verses, today the biggest victory has been granted to you because you've signed the peace treaty. Not war, peace treaty becomes the manifest victory. And it was at that time Prophet Muhammad sent his ambassador to China, to Siberia, to the courts of the Romans, to the courts of the Persians, to say to people, I'm here, I've got a message and a serious message. Talk to me. Don't ignore me. Number 9, he did not turn his other cheek to those who actively pursue oppression and subjugation. He did not turn his other cheek to those who actively pursued oppression and subjugation. He stood against them, for justice became the cornerstone of his mission and of course Islam. For God says, "I'dilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa," for be just, that is the closest station to God. Not pray, not fast, but be just and fair. If you're not just and fair, your prayer is useless. If you're not just and fair, your fasting is useless. What good is it that you can't be fair and just to your fellow human being while you try and pretend to be praying? It's a pretentious lifestyle if you're not fair and just. That's what the Prophet says. He says, help your brother or your sister, even if he is an oppressor. Oh Prophet, how can we help an oppressor? He said, by preventing them from oppression. By preventing them from oppression. Our motto of life is to establish justice. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, number 10, Prophet says his mission can be summed up in his own words in one sentence. Surely I've been sent on this earth to refine morals and character of people. Inni bu'ithtu liyutammima makarim al-akhlaq. I have been sent to refine morals and character of people. Each and every one of us are responsible. Each and every one of us are individuals questioned on the day of judgment by God for what we did. Individually. So he said, I've been sent to refine your character and your morals and collectively we're a sound people. Ladies and gentlemen, in my view, Prophet Muhammad's legacy is not more than the 10 that I've outlined. But I'm inspired by his life. I've made it a mission of my life to make sure I articulate this vision of the Prophet to everybody. We all love him dearly, but our love is based on rational process, not irrational reactions. Our love of the Prophet is based on our devotion to him, our loyalty to him. We follow him because we think he was the best that there was, and still is and will remain. No other reason. We love the Prophet because he was the Prophet of God. Ultimately, we love the Prophet because of God himself. We love God. He tells us we love the Prophet. Legacy of the Prophet would live on. But would you and me live the life of the Prophet in our lives for years to come? Let me finish that. Let me finish my speech with